Welcome back, everyone. This is GTA Failer. In the last video, we tackled all 4 of the RC missions, and in this video, we'll tackle all 4 of the off-road missions. First, I want to point out 2 statistics at this moment in our playthrough. The mission attempts is 8, and the missions passed is 5. We're just going to remember those 2 numbers, 8 attempts, 5 passes. Okay, so one thing I want to do before we totally finish talking about the RC missions is actually neglected to rate this last mission here, the Rumpo Rampage. And I know you come to this series because you want to hear me rate everything on arbitrary and changing scales. So I will repeat that I had, just in terms of funness, that's the rating quality that I'm looking for here. So just in terms of funness, I rated the first 3 RC missions to be a 6 out of 10. So there were 2 over on Portland and then the one in Staunton. But this Rumpo one, I really struggled with. Like I said, I took a bit over an hour and a half to get my arbitrary goal of 10 Rumpos blown up. So I'm still a little bit salty about that one. We're going to dock that one a few points and give it a 3 out of 10. But here we are, moving on to our first of 4 off-road missions. Now you might have noticed that I got out of the car right away there, and it started to play the instructions, and then it stopped them a couple of seconds later, and said mission failed. So here I'm going to wait for the instructions. You have 5 minutes to collect 20 checkpoints in any order. Pass through the first checkpoint to start the timer. Each checkpoint rewards you with 15 seconds. So here's one way to fail, is to just get out. So there's no 60-second or 15-second or whatever grace period to get back in. Here I'm trying to push this thing out to see if, kind of see how big the radius is for beginning this particular off-road mission. And so it's at least as big as this. So here I'm going to go quite a bit farther away, fail the mission, get in, and nothing happens. So here we're outside of the radius. So just showing you that, it's the typical thing. As long as the vehicle is within the radius, you get in. You start the mission. So the mission timer begins once you drive the first checkpoint. But what I wanted to do is see if there was something special about this Patriot, or if I could just find any Patriot in the wild, like this one. A little bit of a gunfight here. Hello, cartel friend. And you too. So here, I'm taking a brand new Patriot. I'm going to borrow it from this driver for science. And then we're going to head back and see if we can't start Gripped, which is the name of this off-road mission, in a random Patriot and not the specific Patriot that spawns there. So that's what we're about here. Like I mentioned, there's 4 of these off-road missions, and they're all required for 100%. And they all count as missions for us. That's why I showed the stats in the beginning of this video. We're gonna add forward to the mission attempts and missions completed by the end of this video. So here we'll get out and get back in, and yeah, you can start this off-road mission in any Patriot, not just the specific one. I will point out the slight difference there. I don't know if you caught it, but I had to get out of my Patriot there and then back in while the Patriot was in the radius. And that was different for the RC missions. For the RC missions, as long as you had gotten out of the toys van, like anywhere, and then you can get back into the toys van, like in some random spot, and then drive it into the radius. And then you start the mission. So slight difference here. All 4 of the off-road missions behave in this way, where you start them if you get in to like the right kind of vehicle while it's in the radius. Okay, so not much else to say here. I think this is me doing my, my sincere attempt. This is my speed running route in terms of the order in which you collect these things. It's quite easy to roll and flip your Patriot, so you got to take the turns very gently and be aware of the different slopes and the different faces of this mountain. Some of the slopes are so steep that you can't go up them, so you can't just like take any path you want, and it's really easy to get kicked off, bucked off the mountain if you hit something at the wrong angle. Typically, I back over this edge instead. I do like a sick X Games grind and just decide to go forward this way. It is possible, so we're in Colombian cartel territory here, and so because I'm stopped in various spots and going real slow here, it is possible to get pulled out. So do be aware that on this section, where you're on the road in Colombian cartel territory, you need to be careful when you are going very slowly or when you're stopped briefly. But now from here on out, we have no more concerns because we won't be going onto the roads anymore. Where we're going, we don't need roads. Um, yeah, so another thing to point out about this particular off-road mission is that the time can be pretty low in the beginning. Like it's easy to run out of time in the first few checkpoints, like before you collected the first few. But you can see now I've got a solid minute built up, like a time bank. And so I'm going to go very cautiously. You can see me hitting the brakes before I go down this hill, riding the brakes the whole time and taking appropriate angles, trying to kind of go up the hills like going straight up the hill as opposed to kind of going up the hill at an angle because I don't want to give my Patriot any chance to flip or roll. Really, the main idea is to keep as many of the four wheels on the ground as much as possible. This one's hard to see. I didn't really take a good line. You couldn't really see it's just off here to my left here. There it is. Yeah, so this mission I used to struggle with mightily when I was learning the game. It took me a long time to like learn this route that I take here, and then to practice and make sure that I didn't get myself in trouble. Like I would run out of time sometimes in the beginning of learning this, and so therefore I would drive faster and take more chances, and therefore flip and roll and end up upside down or off the mountain or whatever. I'm pretty consistent with it now. This is my first attempt. I didn't like cut out failed attempts here in making this video, and I'll succeed here on my first attempt. I'll guess that my success rate is maybe 80%. I pass almost all the time, but I still occasionally slide off the mountain somewhere and roll. This is the silliest thing that we drive up in any of the off-road missions, and I'll pause up here enjoying the sunset with you. It's almost serene up there at the top of that mountain peak. Okay, almost done here, and again, just slow and steady is the mantra with this off-road mission. As long as you can build up a time bank after collecting, say maybe you're not going to be in time trouble once you've collected the first four. Once you've collected the first four, then it's okay to really take your time and go slow because it's super easy to roll this thing, like I said. Okay, so if I'm going to rate the off-road missions, I guess I can rate them on like the location. Like that was a lovely view. Like we're all on the mountains here, right by the ocean, at the beach, and then we got this great sunset we're looking at here. So I'll rate them on location and also on difficulty, sort of two different criteria. So here's the 20th one. You could take it more aggressively, but I just drive down here and that's it. Mission passed. And so, in terms of plussing the experience for the purposes of this video, I decided not even to like save my game. I was just like, all right, I'm going to do this mission again, but now I'm going to do it in a different way and maybe a tougher way, a more interesting way, hopefully. So I didn't even save, which was maybe not the brightest thing to do there, because I still need to pass this mission, and it could turn out to be impossible to do what I want to do. So here was my plan. My plan for plussing all four of these off-road missions is to change the order. Like I can do all four of these off-road missions quite consistently now in the one order that I know. And so here I'm going to, so in all four cases, I'm going to try to change the order in which I collect the checkpoints. Makes it like essentially a new challenge for me. And hopefully adds a little bit of interest to the viewers. So I decided, and I didn't know if it was possible, but I decided, hey, maybe I can do the checkpoints in exactly the opposite order. So here I am at the very last checkpoint we collected, collecting this one first. And again, you can collect them in any order, but I have literally never started over here, never done these things in any order other than the order I showed you. So first complication is that the Patriot can't climb that hill right next to this checkpoint, which is a real problem because I spent time, precious time, trying to get up that hill and failing, and then I didn't quite get to this checkpoint in time. So we reload and we try again. So, like I mentioned, I'll rate each of these four off-road missions based partly on location and partly on difficulty. So for the location of this particular off-road mission, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5. Like it's beautiful with all of the scenery and everything. Oh, one thing to note, it's quite a bit tougher to do this off-road mission in the rain because the grip is even worse. All right, so here I'm trying to decide. Yeah, I think I decided I would try going backwards. Like I know that the torque of some of these vehicles in GTA 3 is a little bit different when you're going forwards rather than backwards. So sorry for it takes me so long to line this up. I literally cannot look backwards and go backwards at the same time. Like my keyboard will not allow me to press the two look backwards keys at the same time as the move backwards key. It's physically not possible. I don't have one of those fancy mechanical keyboards, so there's restrictions on like certain key combinations. Like if you're trying to hit certain keys simultaneously, sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not, depending on the keys. Okay, so I tried going backwards up the hill. That also didn't work, but all right, we just barely got that one. Let's see if we can keep this party going. So one thing that's interesting for me as I try this kind of different challenge is that number one, I don't know the route, like going backwards, like my lines are all different here. I'm trying to figure it out on the fly. And number two, I have to actually kind of think hard to figure out like, okay, what's the reverse order for these things? Like which package, or sorry, which checkpoint do I go to next? Yeah, so there was some work there for me to try to figure out like which was which. Okay, so made a little bit more progress on that one, and we're getting there. All right, let's come back to my rating here. So as I said, 5 out of 5 for the location. It's just beautiful. Lots of grass, lots of trees right there by the water and on the beach at the beginning. In terms of the difficulty, like it's not very difficult for me anymore, but that's because I practiced. It was super difficult when I was first learning this game, um, and uh, and so. So I'm going to give it a I don't know, a 2 out of 5 on the difficulty. Just like for the casual gamer, this is a very difficult mission, possibly too difficult. So 7 out of 10, adding up the two scores. All right, so I decided after my last failed attempt to do the checkpoints backwards that I would try something different. All right, so I totally, did I get that one? I guess I did get that one. All right, so we're going in fast forward here. So here's the new plan to plus the thing. So the only thing I was after to plus the 4 off-road missions here is to mess with the order. And so I failed to do the thing in reverse order. It might be possible to do. I could have tried for longer, and I would have gotten better at it. You know, obviously learning like a new route, new lines, and a new ordering. What I decided to do instead is make it so that the first checkpoint that I typically pick up is the last checkpoint. And so I guess I should have pointed this out in the beginning of this video, but the fact that it's in fast forward tells me that it's not going to go all that well for me at some point. So I'll point it out when I start my next attempt here. But there's the checkpoint that I pick up first in my normal route is okay. So here we're at the normally the last checkpoint. We're going to hit it. We're going to go left real quick and then make a beeline all the way back to the beach or not. So I probably didn't need to be so aggressive there after grabbing what is normally the last checkpoint because I never tried it before and I didn't know, you know, like do I need to cut it so close? Like, am I going to be within seconds of failing if I don't make this beeline here? All right, so we're trying it again. I'm going to point out here the one that I normally collect is going to be the closest checkpoint to the Patriots off to my left here. I'm going to totally ignore it. I'm kind of passing it to the left there. And I'm going to begin this attempt with my second checkpoint, which like you might think, well, you know, like what difference does it make whether you skip the first one or not? It's hardly any difference. It's exactly the same route, right? Like all I'm doing is skipping the first checkpoint. But the thing that makes this tricky and hopefully adds a little bit of interest to the video is that the first checkpoint is really, really far away from the last checkpoint. So here it's not enough to just, you know, like collect the other 19 and then take a leisurely drive back here to get the first one. It's a far drive and I need to do it before time runs out. So even though I'm doing my standard route here after just skipping the first checkpoint, I still feel the pressure to go quickly here. And and then see if I have enough time to get back after I collect that first checkpoint. And when I make my beeline back here after collecting what is normally the last checkpoint, I'll be on this exact road but going the other direction. And then I have to try to find a path safely down to the beach, like where you can see we're quite a bit higher than sea level here. And that last checkpoint is essentially at sea level down there where we started Patriot Playground. So that is the goal. And that's what we're going to try to do for each of the 4 off-road missions on in this game. So while we're working through this attempt here, I'll say that this mission obviously is in a Patriot, and it can be started with any Patriot, as we saw. And then the off-road mission on the first island, Portland Island, which is going to be the last off-road mission we do in this video, is also a Patriot mission, and you can start that off-road mission with any Patriot. And so, my standard, like, can I do every multiple things in the same exact vehicle, like literally without getting out or whatever? So I tried, taking the Patriot from the first island, Portland Island, and that off-road mission that we haven't gotten to yet. And I tried flying it over the gap in the Callahan Bridge using the flying cars cheat. And the Patriot has like amazing grip and torque, but it does not have amazing top speed. And so even with the flying cars cheat, I couldn't quite clear the gap. Again, I got close, just like I got close with like a van last time. Um, but I couldn't clear the gap. And so, like, once the bridge is repaired and this island is officially unlocked as well, it would be quite easy to do both of those Patriot off-road missions in exactly the same Patriot. So I could do that later in the playthrough. I'm not inclined to do that, but I don't feel like I can do it right now, just because I can't clear the gap. Okay, so here we are coming up to the steepest incline. If it's raining, it's not possible to go up this side of this face of the mountain. You got to go up like to the right of the face that we were just going up there. That face to the right is slightly shallower, and it is possible to get up the right face when it's raining. As I was thinking about what I can do to plus each of these 4 off-road missions here, I was wondering maybe I should just use the always raining cheat or something and just make it super slippery and super tough. But the fact is, while the rain makes things slippery, like you have so much time once you've learned the route and learned how to kind of keep your Patriot from flipping, that you can just go a little bit slower to deal with the lack of traction caused by the rain. Okay, so that is normally the last checkpoint. But in this case, it's the second to last checkpoint, the penultimate checkpoint. And now we're going to make a beeline. I think I start honking my horn at some point, trying to get these people to move. It doesn't make any difference, but made me feel like I was playing with the appropriate sense of urgency by honking my horn at everybody. Yeah, so just making a beeline. It's not even clear to me if I have enough time to get back to that first checkpoint, because I've never done it before. You saw my previous attempt at this was a fail because I rolled my Patriot right after collecting the 19th checkpoint there. And so this is literally my first time making this drive back and trying to figure out, like, is there a path I can take? Maybe I could have like planned a path ahead of time, but who does that? Not me. So here I'm just looking for shallow gradients, as they say, and hoping to not slip and slide. And now I'm feeling pretty good. Still possible to flip the Patriot, but feeling pretty good that we can make this happen. So with 12 seconds left, 13 seconds left, 20 out of 20. Beautiful. Okay, and the reward for this off-road mission is 40,000 bucks. I will compare. I'm shaking the camera a little bit because I'm excited. So I saved. Now we're just heading to the next island. So I did. The reward, the cash reward for each of the off-road missions is they're different numbers. They're not all 40,000. 40,000 is the highest number, actually. And I'll point out that you are welcome to repeat any of these 4 off-road missions as many times as you'd like. And any time that you pass, you get the cash reward, the full cash reward. And you don't even have to break your previous record. Like in the statistics menu, which I'll show at the end of the video, you'll see that we're going to have a time established for each of these 4 off-road missions. And if you break your record, it will update and it will just keep track of your best time on each mission. But you don't have to break your record to get the full cash reward. So I don't know. If you want cash, you could just kind of repeatedly do 1 or more of these off-road missions. All right, so next off-road mission is here in Belleville Park. It's called A Ride in the Park. This one has fewer checkpoints and less time. Yeah, this one can be tricky as well. Here I'll show you that getting out instantly fails just like before. And then I think the next thing I was curious about was whether or not I could paint and spray my car. Like I don't particularly like this color. Like it doesn't seem, it's not like the right color to do a ride in the park. You'll agree. And so I wasn't sure. Like, is it going to say no, go away, you're on a mission, you can't do this, or is it just going to paint and spray me? No problem. So let's take a look. And paint and spray, no problem. Excellent, excellent. All right, how like the color? Yeah, I do. I do. This is the right color. Okay, so here I'm fast forwarding, and I could just continue. I'm still on the mission technically, and I could just start it by going through the first checkpoint. But another thing I wanted to test is could I do? All right, so I failed because I got out, but I wanted to know could I do a ride in the park this mission with any landstalker, anyone that I find in the wild, or does it have to be that specific one? Right, like so, like the toys vans in the previous video are specialized pony vans, but you can't start the RC missions in a general pony. You have to be in one of those toys vans. So I was curious about the vehicles here for these off-road missions. Okay, so we got to smush this one out of the way. We got to get out and then back in. And as long as you're in the radius in any Landstalker, not just the official Landstalker, you start the mission. Okay, so I think this is going to be my earnest, sincere attempt. Here's my speed running order in which I collect these checkpoints. The second checkpoint is the toughest one for me by far. So I go way left, then make a U-turn to the right, and if you're at the wrong angle going up that hill, you can easily get flipped. You can get flipped coming off the hill, you can get flipped going up that little hill. Once I'm here, I'm generally safe. I have flipped so many Landstalkers in that little pond, just on that kind of elevated island, trying to grab that second checkpoint. It's so easy to roll the Landstalker. Even here, I flipped a bunch of times there. On this next one up the hill here, I flipped a bunch of times. Like here, I'm intentionally going up like straight up, not at an angle up the hill, because it's super easy to roll the Landstalker. Okay, like I mentioned before, with the previous off-road mission, it took me a long time to kind of get the hang of this off-road mission, but now that I have a route and I understand like how to keep my Landstalker from rolling, again, I passed this one like 80-85% of the time. Here, I don't gun it until I'm on the downward steps. I think if you gun it while you're on flat land, you'll fly over the downward steps and therefore not maybe have enough acceleration or velocity to make it up the upward steps. That's a small detail. Okay, and there we go. 30 grand for passing that one. Again, that was my first legitimate try in this video. So pretty easy after with a lot of practice, but so many fails on that island checkpoint, the one in the pond. Okay, so here is my first attempt at doing my plus version of this mission. So I think I just reloaded my save. So the previous one has been wiped from memory. My successful attempt at this is wiped from memory. And now we're going to try something I've never tried before, which is to do these checkpoints in the reverse order. I've never done any order on these checkpoints than the one that I just showed you. In particular, this last one here is way far to the north. Like there's nothing close to it. I mean, there's not even on the map, right? Like the next checkpoint is not even located inside the circle. It's on the edge, which means it's beyond the circle. Okay, so we floor it. I actually didn't even know like which direction. Like I don't think this is the next checkpoint I was supposed to grab, but like I was so low on time, feeling pressured that I went for it. Flipped it. So easy to flip it. And we will try again. So as I mentioned, the cash rewards are different for these different off-road missions. So the first off-road mission we did in this video in the Patriot was a 40,000 cash reward. This one is 20,000. Wait, 30,000. 30,000 for this one. Okay, so I think we're in it now. I think yeah, I intended to do these in reverse order, but I didn't end up doing them in reverse order. So I guess I generally did them in a backwards kind of way. No, that's not even true, because here this is my standard order where I grabbed the last three that I grabbed are in my standard order. This one is in my standard order. All right, forget it. All I can say is that I grabbed the last one first. That's it. That's it. That's all that this ordering is. Yeah, because all of these are my standard order except for the first one that I grabbed. Okay, and then at some point I think, yeah, okay, so here I think these rest ones are now in reverse order, but it's pretty straightforward. I've got plenty of time on the clock, and we're about to get 2 checkpoints in rapid succession. adding 10 seconds each. And so I'm feeling pretty confident as long as I don't get flipped by this checkpoint on top of the island hill. The thing with the hill is that like if you don't approach the hill at like the correct angle, like you just get rolled off. Like if you're too far to the right, you'll get rolled to the too far left, rolled to the left. It's just like almost an instant fail if you don't approach it at a good angle. And now I'm just looking for a place to exit the pond. And then plenty of time to grab what is typically my first checkpoint and is now my last one. Ray. Okay, so that one took me 2 attempts. I think I feel good about that attempt there. Okay, and so the next off-road mission is actually not too far away from this off-road mission. So there's 2 off-road missions here on Staunton Island, and 1 off-road mission on Portland, and 1 off-road mission on Shoreside Vale. So this next one is inside of the multi-story car park, and it's called Multi-Story Mayhem, and it's kind of odd. So there's the Stallion, that car right in front of me we're saving here, because typically when you get in this specialized vehicle, the mission just starts right up. But what's weird here is that this specialized vehicle isn't in the right spot. The starting spot is out here on the road. And so I don't know why they did this. It seems to me it's like a bug or like they didn't program it correctly. But if you're on the road here in front of this entrance, then you start multi-story mayhem. 2 minutes, 20 checkpoints, 5 seconds for each checkpoint. But you start with 20 seconds and the timer starts immediately. So many weird things. So like the timer is already begun there. You can see 20, 19, 18, 17. So a really low bonus for each number of seconds of the checkpoint, 5 seconds each. And the clock starts immediately, and you have a starting time as opposed to like just beginning with the 15, with the whatever the first checkpoint gives you. So here, I didn't think that the mission would start. I pushed the vehicle onto the sidewalk. I thought I was outside of the radius, but I wasn't. So then I'm going to cut because I ended up doing a lot of checks, and it turns out the radius is pretty darn big. So here I am way out here. Like I have been in the radius on my many attempts that I cut out. So here I'm out of the radius. And now I'm going to drive essentially to like the northernmost part of this building, right where the building begins here. And this is in the radius. So the radius is much bigger than I would have guessed. I always start the mission like basically right outside where this stallion appears. It's a fixed spawn for the stallion in that parking garage. But yeah, big radius. And so next up, I want to know if I can do this particular off-road mission in any stallion or if it has to be that specific stallion. And I do like the kind of mint, like metallic green here. I think, I don't know if you could hear it over my commentary here, but I think that woman said, leave me alone, I'm an old lady or something like that. She's not an old lady anymore. She's gone. That's the circle of life. Okay, so I think that this is going to be my normal speedrun route, doing the checkpoints in exactly the same order I always do them. So I went way over here because I haven't done this in like a year. I haven't done any of this in a year. So I kind of forgot like where the checkpoints were. There's a couple that you kind of have to go out of your way. Oh, this is going swimmingly. So 5 seconds added. So you have to go out of your way for a couple of them. Like mostly you could just see them. Like you could see what's like, quote, the next natural one. But for this one, there's a couple that are tucked away. And if you don't know where they are, then you might find yourself like, all the way at the top roof of this car park, and you collect what you think is supposed to be the last one, but it's actually the 19th out of 20th one because you missed one on the second floor or whatever. So like, for example, we're going to have to make a U-turn to the left here to get one that's kind of tucked away. And if you don't look over here or you don't know it's here, then like you're really not going to know just looking at the minimap because the minimap doesn't give you a sense of altitude of these checkpoints. So it's not all that useful, frankly, this minimap. There, I was looking to the left to make sure I didn't miss anything. And then here, I think I'm going to make another U-turn to the left to find nothing. Whoops. Yeah, I thought that I was on the floor there because I was outside, but I forgot there's 2 outside floors. So on the top floor, I remembered that you did have to make that U-turn to the left. I just wasn't on the top floor. Just noticed that the color of my stallion here kind of is pretty close to the colors of the checkpoints. Rockstar should give me some like bonus cash for finishing this mission in this stylish way. Okay, so here are the last 3 And then the last one that I grab is actually off of this ramp to our left now, but I take a bigger run up than I need to. This ramp might look familiar because we did a unique jump off of this ramp, and in fact, we'll get the slow motion thing on this ramp as well. I've already done the unique jump, so you won't see me get credit for it here. In fact, it is possible to get credit for the unique jump while grabbing that last package. I don't know where the setup is or like how to line it up or whatever, but I've seen it done. Okay, so that's my standard route, and now we're going to do a non-standard route. Can I do these checkpoints in reverse order? The answer is definitively no, because the last checkpoint that I got was that one all the way at the top. And remember, as soon as you begin this mission, the clock starts. You have 20 seconds to get to the first checkpoint once you begin. So I'm going to begin here, not at my standard entrance, but at the other entrance, because my intention is to skip the first floor checkpoints entirely. I'm going to go right up to the second floor, do the second floor ones in my normal order, the third floor ones in normal order, the top two floors, the outside floors in normal order. And then after I go flying through the air to grab what is typically my last checkpoint, I will hopefully have time to get the first floor checkpoints that I skipped. So hopefully you're convinced that it is not possible to do these in the reverse order because the clock starts as soon as you begin the mission. And 20 seconds is not enough time to get up all of the floors of the parking garage and then get enough speed to fling yourself off of that ramp and fly through the air in slow motion to grab that first checkpoint. And even if it was long enough, each checkpoint, remember, only adds 5 seconds. And so you would, you'd have your 20 seconds to start the mission. You'd have to get up to the top floor and fling yourself off into the slow motion scene and grab that checkpoint, which would add 5 seconds to whatever little time you have left, if any. And then you'd have to get to another checkpoint, like one of the first floor checkpoints, maybe before all of your time runs out. And I don't think any of that is possible. So here I felt content with what I decided to do to increase the challenge a little bit here. I'm not going to take my big run up. So this would normally be the last checkpoint, but we skipped the whole first floor. So I'm hoping that I land this thing because it's possible to flip your stallion here accidentally, which normally wouldn't matter, the last one. But here we've got like 27 seconds or something to get back, and I was feeling quite confident that we could make this work. So here I am grabbing the last 3 checkpoints, or maybe 4, I don't know, the last checkpoints in reverse order from how I normally collect them. And so this will be the third of 4 off-road missions done. 30 grand, easy. Okay, so then I think we're gonna head over to the first island and we'll tackle the final off-road mission. Probably I'll start fast forwarding here. So at this point, I will point out some of the, so I'm gonna share some data about like each of the or off-road missions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you first the number of checkpoints in each mission, and I'm going to share these in the same order that we did the missions here in this video. So Gripped, the Patriot one we did, has 20 checkpoints. The Ride in the Park inside of Belleville Park also has 20. The Multi-Story Mayhem, the one that we just did in the car park, also has 20 checkpoints. But this final one that we're about to do here in the Patriot has only 15. So this one has 5 fewer checkpoints than the rest of them. Actually, as I say that, that's not true, is it? I just remembered that a Ride in the Park has 12. So my bad. Okay, so we'll try it again. The first Patriot one that we did has 20. The one in the park is 12. The Multi-Story Mayhem is 20, and this one here is 15. I think that's accurate. As you see me here in the video, I'm just showing the fail if you get out. I don't bother going to get another like a Patriot from the Wild to start this one. You can clearly start this one with the Patriot from the Wild. And here I'm just going to do my no oddities or quirks or anything. I'm just doing my standard speedrun routes. I haven't done it in like a year, but fortunately the route came back to me pretty easily. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to share about these 4 off-road missions is that the time per checkpoint. How much bonus time do you get per checkpoint? So in the first Patriot one that we did, it was 15 seconds. Then the one in the park was 10 seconds. Then the one in the parking garage was 5 seconds, but that one started you with 20 seconds. And then finally, this one here is a 20 seconds added to the clock per checkpoint. And then the last thing I'll share in terms of like data, sometimes I have trouble getting up this ramp. I kind of try to get near this intersection of the two textures. And I start on the left intersection and I migrate to the right. That's my general strategy. Here you can pick up this checkpoint near the water by going way further left than you might think. So I try not to get anywhere near the water. Okay, so finally the cash rewards for each of the four off-road missions. So the first Patriot one is 40,000, that's the highest. Then the one in the park and the one in the parking garage, both of those give $30,000. And then this Patriot one that we're doing right now gives $20,000. And like I mentioned before, you can do these off-road missions as many times as you'd like, and you keep getting the cash reward every time. And I mentioned in the RC video, the last video, that go real slow up this hill. Don't like run into it at top speed. You can begin from a standstill as you're going up that really steep hill, so you don't get bounced off the mountain. I mentioned in the RC video that the RC cash reward system is pitiful in terms of grinding for early game cash. There's a very low cap to how much cash you can get doing the RC missions repeatedly. But here, the sky's the limit for the off-road missions. So feel free, if you enjoy the off-road missions, to do them repeatedly. I haven't like timed myself for any of these things. We will see my times when we look at the statistics at the end of this video in just a few minutes. We'll see my times for all four of these off-road missions. But in terms of like most bang for your buck, like if you want to use these off-road missions to increase your cash, then just off the top of my head, I would suggest that so the most cash you can get is from that first Patriot one that we did in this video. It's 40,000, but that takes a long time to do that one, and it can be quite challenging to control that Patriot. I would propose maybe the most efficient way to grind for cash using one of these four off-road missions would be the one that's in the park, because that one had only 12 checkpoints and gives you $30,000, and I think we'll see that one is going to be my quickest completion time by far. And you get 30 grand for it. So maybe that's okay. All right, so this is my typical speedrun route, and I had every confidence that I could try to plus this experience, so I didn't bother saving. Another decision I might live to regret, but we'll see how it goes. So this one, in this attempt, I'm going to see, again, just kind of monkeying with the order in which I typically collect the checkpoints. I am going to see if I can do these backwards. I don't know if it's possible. I never tried doing it, these checkpoints in any order other than the one you saw in the last attempt. I'm not even sure how I can get to the final checkpoint. There's plenty of time to get there because the clock doesn't start until you touch the first checkpoint. But I just decided to go on the beach. Part of me thought I could go up to Salvatore's mansion and then come down from there, but I decided to just see if I could stay on the beach, and thought maybe the water would be in the way, but turns out that the last checkpoint I collect is right there. So we can get there carefully, staying away from the water. And now we're going to try to get these ones in reverse order. And so again, that means for me, I'm trying to think about not just like what's the like a good route to do here, but also like even what's the order, like what's the backwards order from my normal one? Which one do I go to next? Okay, but as usual, it's probably the first few checkpoints that are the diciest in terms of having enough time. But once you've built up a bit of a bank, then you can maybe not take so many chances as you drive around the path. Surprisingly, you can get up here. I wasn't sure. And we'll just keep going backwards. It's looking pretty good here. We've already got almost a minute built up. Nothing can stop us now. Okay, so I'll also share as you watch me crush this backwards attempt that suppose I wanted to know what would happen if you were on a mission, like a story mission, and you got into like this specific Patriot that was sitting in the that spawn location, or you got into the specific Landstalker in the park, or the Stallion in the in the parking garage. What happens if you're already on a mission and then you try to start this off-road mission, one of these off-road missions? So the answer is Nothing. You're just in control of the Patriot that you get into. Nothing indicates, hey, come back when you're not so busy. You're on a mission right now. Nothing happens at all. It's just an ordinary. These are just ordinary vehicles that you can get into anytime when you're on a mission. They don't trigger anything if you're already on a mission. Okay, so at this point in my journey, I was not feeling great, but we landed on our wheels, and we do have 37 seconds left. So all hope is not lost. I am kind of driving a little bit more recklessly because we lost a lot of time there, but it's not a fail yet. And the same thing is true if you are on a story mission and then you get into one of the toys vans, as if you were trying to start one of the RC missions. Nothing will happen. You'll just be in control of the toys van. It won't give you a message saying come back later. Okay, I wasn't feeling great here either, but I'm going to change my name to GTA Succeeder because I nailed those two scary moments. Also, I think I got quite lucky. I'll also say that after we complete this fourth and final off-road mission, the only ways left to increase our in-game completion percentage are the 50 remaining story missions, the 17 phone missions, and then 4 import-export vehicles. That's it. There's nothing left to do in this game for us at this moment. Once we finish this off-road mission, there's nothing less left for us to do other than story missions, phone missions, and the 4 import-export vehicles that are not available to us at this moment, as far as I know. None of the phone missions are available at this moment either. They get unlocked by doing other story missions first. In fact, the only story mission available right now is the next one in the Luigi chain, the first one in the Luigi chain. And so, yeah, the percentage increase has come to an end until we decide to relent and do our next story mission, which would be our first story mission since we did the intro missions with 8 Ball and Misty. That said, I don't know if this will be good news for you or bad news for you. The next video in this series is not going to be about doing story missions. In fact, I have a bunch of other ideas for things that I can do that are hopefully interesting that are not yet starting the story mission. So we're going to keep this train going and really try to do 100% plus. Focus on the plus and trying to do everything reasonable and probably some unreasonable things as well. So I've got ideas. So it's still going to be some time before we start our next story mission, but hopefully my ideas are things that a bunch of you find interesting and entertaining. Yeah, so I think that's about it here as we wind down and head towards the last checkpoint in this off-road mission, which is always my first checkpoint when I do this mission in speedrunning. And here, totally out of control, but all good. Okay, so wiggle the camera. We're happy. We finished all 4 off-road missions in slightly different than usual ways. And so I'm going to save the game and also going to show you the stats. So if you recall, we had 8 mission attempts before, and now we're up to 12. Makes sense. We just did 4 off-road missions. And we had 5 mission passes, and now we have 9. And what we also have are times for each of the courses that we finished. Patriot Playground, 254 seconds. Ride in the Park, 89. Gripped, 271. Multi-Story Mayhem, 94. So I was right that the Ride in the Park was the quickest one, but it wasn't. It was only 5 seconds quicker than Multi-Story Mayhem. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I did both of them backwards. I think all the times will be quicker when I do my speed run route. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you real soon.